cards. Let's move upstairs.
Now we're live. Big face right in front of you. Just kidding. Hey, it's Chris from LJ's Card Shop, LJ's Card Lounge, here with Josh on that side as always. And joining us today, the man, the guy, the dude everybody knows, down that way. Ivan, watch the breaks. Ivan, how we doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Chris. Honored to be here on LJ's Card Lounge and happy to meet Josh.
What's up, man? I'm digging the hat, man. I love the hat. I know I told you that, but I have to tell you again. I love the hat.
Well, thank you, man. I love it too. I've had it for just about a decade. It's just my all use Cubs hat. But Josh, I just found out that I thought we might know each other, but by like handles, like I'm Watch the Breaks, but I'm really Ivan.
Okay.
But Josh, I was told you're actually Twitterless, Josh.
Twitter,
what is
well,
that?
For the moment, yes. Chris likes to make fun of me for that, but it is what it is. Eventually, I will put my first tweet out, and when I do, you will be the first to know. Other than Chris. Chris always knows.
So like where do you talk hobby 24/7?
I work in a hobby shop, man. That's all we talk about.
Well, yeah, but that's like I'm sure you get hundreds of people in the hobby shop, but like social media, you can get like tens of thousands of people arguing at the same time. It's glorious.
True. That's what I have Chris for. Chris just kind of fills me in, and he can just kind of like relay what I have to say. But eventually, I'll get there. I'll get there eventually.
Well, you're always welcome on Twitter. You know, I'll give you a
that.
follow. I'll give you a follow for sure.
Well, we'll get him into the Twitter sphere. Josh is just he's a little old school. He just got his first smartphone last week. He had a flip phone, like a Razor, for a while. So, he's got to join the 20th century here.
Gotcha. You do text, right, Josh?
I feel like no, I do, yes. And I've had a flip phone for years, so I got to adjust to this.
All right, Ivan, for everyone watching this, they know who Josh and I are, and if they're watching my stuff, they probably know who you are as well. But my boss might be watching who might not know you. So you just tell us who you are, what you do, like why you're here, what you collect. Like, just give us the Ivan rundown.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So my name is Ivan. Weird name, I know. Had it since childhood. I've been collecting since I was a kid. My dad is from Chicago, so I was a huge Chicago team guy growing up, especially the Cubs, especially the Bears. I moved out to LA after college to do entertainment stuff. And after a few years out there, finally felt settled. I picked up some random packs here and there during that time, but, mainly a hiatus from collecting. And then around 2011, we moved into this new apartment. We actually had some good space, and I had these loose packs I'd been moving with me everywhere, for years, apartment jumping. And I said, wow, I can actually put these in this space. And it's all been downhill from there. Like once you got some space for some cards, it all goes downhill. So I got back into collecting, made a lot of the newbie mistakes that, have been accelerated in the last couple of years with the hobby boom. But man, I was going through them back in 2012, 2013. And being in Hollywood, I was like, you know what? I should do a web series about my collect fails. Like every failure I made as a collector. So we did this little comedy web series. It was called The Breaks. Amazingly, Beckett did a little write-up on the first episode, and we started, getting people following us and chatting on social media. And then, Josh, this is why Twitter is so beautiful. It's so fun. And I loved being part of this community. There's one thing that I almost always say, so if you've heard it before, I'm sorry, but it's so true. When I was a kid, people always say, oh, everybody collected back then. Yeah, everybody collected. All my friends collected, but nobody cared like I did. The kid that had the most money on the street had the cards in a shoebox, not even a real, 400 count box. And all of a sudden I found Twitter, and I found people around the world who collected and who cared more than I did, who knew more than I knew, who had deeper PCs, who had, bigger super collections. And I was just like, I'm naturally curious. And so just the conversation aspect of it just got me rolling. tweeted a lot, got to host a podcast with Go GTS Live for 6-7 years, which was really incredible. Got to go to the National a bunch of years and do stuff on the main stage there. And that's where I am, how I'm here today, is just by talking. So thank you, everybody who has talked back, including you, Chris.
And Ivan, I just checked. At this moment right now, you have 43,138 Twitter followers.
Wow.
And does that not just blow your mind that there are 43,138 people in this world who care what you have to say?
It is actually pretty mind-blowing.
That's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
That's because you're a Cubs fan.
It's because I'm a Cubs fan.
That's why I like to think of it anyway.
I bet
Cubs fans
43,000 of those are Cubs fans. 138 are here for the hobby, except for the 1 million Cubs. He's here for both of them. So
there you go.
Yeah, no, I'd actually argue technically it's actually kind of the opposite, which is what I think is so cool is like that many people care in general about the hobby today. Because I was talking to some other friends just earlier today, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I remember, 2015 when I hit my first 1,000 on Twitter." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, it used to be hard. It's easy to get 1,000 followers on Twitter. It's harder to get past that. But like in the hobby today, like it's easy to spin up and have 500, 600, 1,000 followers pretty quickly. That's just a testament to how much the hobby's grown. So I think that's pretty awesome.
We got to like 1,200 in like 3 months just by showing banger cards. Because I mean, you've seen what we've got. We've got banger after banger after banger. Then after
we should
that,
be talking to you, Chris. What are you talking about?
Okay, but other people start posting our cards, and then they get all the followers. Like, hey, this is the best card ever, and they show like 6 of our cards. Like, can you at least tag like LJ's when you post our stuff? Like, please. Because that's it. Just tag us into stuff. Like, you're gonna use our cards for your clout. Just tag us. Don't even care. Just say, hey, this card is owned by so and so, which really bothers me because I am the social media guy for LJ's. But it's like you have 10 more, 10 times the follow. Not you personally, but X account has 10 times the followers we do, and they use my cards. It's like, okay, we shot up to like 1,200. Now we're probably around 1,600 or so, and it's getting more and more. And I kind of find it like, as a card shop, I have to interact as LJ's. Like, I'm also, gold line cards. Then I can more or less interact as Chris, and I can do things and say more things. I feel like it's more genuine, more interactive, whereas I don't have to interact as LJ's. Like, there's some things I would say as Chris that I would not say as LJ's, or like JB, Old Town Cards. He'll get into it with anybody, and he's got a huge following. He knows his stuff. He's super smart, but he'll let his opinion be known, and he'll back it, and he'll die on that hill. I can't exactly do that as LJ's, but I can do that as Goldline, and that's how he gets his following. Like, I like him a lot. I think he's a great guy. I actually was supposed to go golfing with him once last year. It didn't happen, but it's different when you can be it's like Ryan with Card Collector 2. He is Ryan, but he's also Card Collector 2. He owns that company. Like, if Leo or Stefan, like our owners, were the social media guys, like I am representing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to represent them the best way that I can. And Josh is getting into the social media stuff now too, and help me on that front. So it's like we both have to represent LJ's, not just ourselves. And I kind of find that a little tricky to navigate, because Instagram, it's like, hey, I'm going to post this Clay Thompson card just like an hour ago for $17,000. And then my DMs are just flooded with, $500 offers and low balls. It's like, get out of here, man. This is a 2012 pristine BGS silver. Like, get out of here.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. It's like, wouldn't it be nice if Instagram had a minimum offer feature?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if some of these social networks that people are using for transactions had just a little bit of commerce power behind them to make those things a little smoother, a little more smoothed out?
Isn't that a topic we're going to hit on in about 5 minutes there, Ivan?
We might, but I do want to get back to social media and just say to the people listening, if you're listening, you're probably watching on YouTube, or is there actually a place where this just goes out as audio? Because I took a shower before this, but if I'd known it was just audio. Like, do
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I said, is there a place this goes out that's just audio? Like, is it like on a podcast network or anything like that?
No, we just keep it on YouTube. We do our podcast on
Okay.
Spotify on Mondays.
Okay, so it's a good thing I did take a shower before this. But that being said, if you're watching on YouTube and you don't follow these guys on TikTok, you're missing out because their TikTok game is A+ with the content and then how you mix up those things with the cards. So there's nobody that's more fun to watch and see what's going to show up next, because you literally are posting, dare I say, $1 million cards on TikTok. It's insane.
Josh, we got a comment. He said, "What's the logo on your hat? It's always on backwards."
I know I turned it around. I don't know if he saw it or not, but it's an LJ's hat. I wear this hat, according to Chris, every single day. We talked about that about 10 minutes ago, about having a hat that we like, because I commented on how much I liked Ivan's hat. And when you find a hat you like to wear it. Why not? It matches the colors. It matches.
Well, I like Ivan's hat. He's a Cubs fan. Josh, you're a Cubs fan. I kind of connected those two the other day and was thinking, I used to live half a block from Wrigley. So we all have really cool Cubs stories to share. And that's what we do in the lounge. We share stories. So I want to go around the clock and share like your favorite Cubs story. Josh, let's go ahead and start with you and see what's your favorite Cubs story, man?
Can you have just one?
You can tell
Ivan, can you have just one fan? Listen, I picked out a couple of things here, and I'm going to run through this quick because we are on a time restraint here. I was 9 years old when I was a Cubs fan. I think I've said that before multiple times. People are probably tired of hearing it. I was 9 years old. I started playing baseball when I was 9, and WGN, everybody loved WGN, and the Cubs were everywhere, and they were the first team that I watched and fell in love with Ryan Sandberg, my dude back here. I don't think I need to say that anymore, but he's everywhere in here. There's more on this wall over here. Anyway, 12 years old, my father took me to my first Cubs game in Pittsburgh. Ryan Sandberg's first at bat that I ever saw, 3-2 count, home run. It was awesome. I think they lost that game. But there was stars on both sides. The Pirates had Bonds and Bonilla and Van Slyke at the time. The Cubs, of course, had Grayson, Dawson, and Jerome Walton, former Rookie of the Year. And I think Greg Maddux pitched that game. And the only reason I remember that is because my dad had taken a bunch of pictures, and I still have those in a binder somewhere. And I remember he had took a picture of the lineup, and Maddux was actually pitching that day. So I got to see Greg Maddux pitch. I don't remember it, but anyway, later on in life, I got my family into it, my son and my wife, who are now huge Cubs fans with me. Of course, Ivan, I listened to your Chris Bryant stories about your card and the bat. So cool. Me too. Huge Cubs fan. Love. Chris Bryant fan. And I think we should probably thank the Astros for taking Mark Appel with the number 1 pick and leaving Bryant for us at number 2. We may not even be having this conversation right now.
Hey, anyway, Appel got called into Phillies camp this year, so he's still at it.
He did. You know what? Good for him. He seems like a good guy. But I did bring a couple things I wanted to show you. First Cubs game, my son gets this Chris Bryant autograph ball. Sorry about the glare, but it is signed by Chris.
Sweet. That's awesome.
He got to meet him, talk to him for a minute. I got a Javi game used ball here, a toss-up, pregame toss-up. And the coolest thing I have probably, my guy, I was a big Wilson Contreras fan. I know he's in St. Louis now. I don't care about the business. Yes, it sucks. But once a Cub, always a Cub, right? We were at a game, I don't know how long ago it was, three or 4 years ago. And we had seats right behind the dugout. And Arrieta was pitching that day. And I remember Contreras and him walking up. And my son, I think he was – how old is he now? He was probably around 10. I don't know, 10, 11. And Wilson sees him, and he throws him his hat. This is a game-issued Wilson Contreras hat. It's got the 40 in it. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's got the 40 right there. Yeah. So that's cool. Awesome. The toss was a little off, and I may or may not have yelled at my wife for not catching it. But anyway, long story short, Wilson was like, no, that hat was meant for him, and pointed to my son. So we got the hat. just a couple of cool things that I had to share. I was at actually the Chris Bryant game where he hit the 3 home runs
Oh wow.
and the 2 doubles back when they actually gave out paper tickets. I don't know. I still have those. I've been to a lot of Cubs games in Cincinnati. I've been to Wrigley once a long time ago. Looking forward to going back. Like I said, the world revolves around the Cubs for me, and I love sport, but the Cubs are the only team that I have a 100% allegiance to, and that's never going to change.
And
So-
then I had to break it to him that while we're at the National this year, the Cubs are out of town. So I told
That's
him we'd
okay.
have to take an LJ's road trip up for a Cincinnati in Chicago weekend.
Yeah,
if
it's
I
not
go to
that far.
Chicago, I am not going to see the Reds because I have seen the Reds too many times.
Why? It's an easy victory, Josh.
You know what? It used to be. It used to be.
Oh, have some faith in this year's team. Have some faith
You know
in this
what?
year's team.
You know what? I love this team this year. It's
Yeah.
It's exciting. We'll
Yeah.
save that for another conversation. I think you and I are going to have this maybe a Twitter conversation at some point about
I
Chicago
mean,
Cubs baseball.
I don't want to publicize it too broadly, here, everybody that's listening is going to want in, but get on Twitter. There's Cubs reasons to be on Twitter.
No, I
Ping
got
me
it.
on the
Reasons.
DMs.
That's
There's
awesome.
reasons I can't join Twitter just for this.
I got
and
you.
Ping me.
I got you.
So that said, Chris, remind me the exact phrasing of the question because I'm wrestling with which of the. I have some awesome stories to me.
What was it?
Which one should I
Favorite
tell
I
you?
Cubs
just said,
moment?
what's your favorite story, like Cubs related story of all time? Like,
Yeah, because definitely favorite. Like I still get goosebumps right now. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about 2016.
It's got to be the World Series
Cubs
too,
win,
right?
like,
Like I
that's just-
totally didn't forget about that.
The joy that's come with, like, it's still bringing me joy. 2023, that one
Right.
moment. There's the hobby stuff. So much hobby stuff around the Cubs. But I think I am going to go non-hobby and tell you this Cubs story. It's actually a painful Cubs story. So my favorite 3 Cubs are Chris Bryant, who I got back into baseball the day before Chris Bryant was drafted. And so Chris Bryant, like the minute he got drafted, I'm like, that's my guy. But before that, I was a huge Greg Maddux fan my entire life. And then Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub, is my third favorite on that list.
Right there.
Nice. I like it. So, sorry, I got reverse cam, so I keep going.
I know, me too. I was on the wrong side. Sorry.
So get this. So in 2005, I lived in Chicago for the summer. I mentioned I was, doing Hollywood stuff after
so did
college.
I.
Well, this was, so here's the thing. I was in Wrigleyville
Me
Chris?
too.
and I was doing theater,
I lived on Addison and Holstead.
and you were doing theater at the Bailiwick on Belmont?
No, but
Oh.
I worked for Jerry Springer downtown at NBC Tower.
Oh, that's too crazy.
How
So I
in
was
the world
on,
did I not know this?
I don't know, the story hasn't come up. You never asked me my favorite Cubs story or my worst Cubs story.
This is really
you'll be the
cool
judge.
now.
Yeah, so I got asked to understudy the lead in a play that was on Belmont. So that's not too far from there, right? And I was really good friends with a couple of the people that ended up interning that year. And one night, since I was understudying, I wasn't going up every night. One night, my friend said, "Hey, we've got Cubs tickets. Do you want to come to the game?" Happened to be a night that I had responsibilities at the theater. I wasn't going up, but I had responsibilities. Like I had agreed to help out backstage with some of the transitions and stuff. So I was like, there's no way I can go. I also, this summer, was living out of my car. I didn't actually have a place to live there. I just drove to Chicago and knew things would work out. So my phone died in the middle of this time that I was backstage helping out during the show. I get out and it's raining. So I'm like, oh, well, it was a rain out anyways. Great. I didn't miss anything. The next morning I'm at a coffee shop up the Brown line, by the way, just for those of you keeping track of this story. And I see the newspaper because they have the newspaper at the coffee shop. Perfect place if you're homeless and you want to read the news. Coffee shop. And the front page says Maddux gets 300th win after rain delay. And so I'm like, what? So of course that day when I go into the theater, around noon, my friends are there, and I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, there was this giant rain delay, and we waited through it. We sat there the whole time. It didn't even start up until like 10 o'clock. They didn't even start the game because of the rain delay. And I'm like, I got out of the theater at like 9:15. I was just around, in the theaters just around the corner from there. For those of you that are also tracking, it was like 3,000 Belmont, it's, maybe half a mile, 3/4 of a mile. Like, if my phone hadn't died and I had had a second brain to think about these things, I could have actually gone and witnessed Greg Maddox's, because he had come back to the Cubs, remember? Like, he'd done that whole tour, but then he came back to the Cubs. I could have had tickets to Greg Maddox's 300th win.
Wow.
And instead, I didn't. But I read about it in a coffee shop up the Brown line later the next day. So,
But you have a cool story to tell.
yeah, it's a fun story. It's a fun memory to go back on. And I
Doesn't quite make up for it. I get that, but it's a cool story.
Yeah. Well, flip side was I did get to see a few games that season, including a game, the White Sox at US Cellular, where John Popper did the national anthem.
Wow.
John Popper is the lead
Blues
Traveler.
Traveler.
For those of you who don't know. Yeah. And he did it on harmonica. And it's another moment. I didn't expect so many goosebumps moments.
Very
in
cool.
LJ's Card Lounge, but just
Very
thinking
cool.
about it, the greatest national anthem I've ever seen.
Very cool.
Him doing it on harmonica. So I know that's the end of our time. It's been great talking with you guys. Go on for another 40 minutes. I've got so many fun Cub stories.
You're right.
I just literally can't believe that I lived like a half a block away from you in 2005 in Chicago. I think I was 530 West Addison. It was like right on Addison and Halstead. There's a little flower shop in a bakery on the first floor. I lived on the third floor.
Oh, nice.
It was just right off Lakeshore Boulevard. I'd walk up to the lake all the time, and
If
I'd walk
I'd known,
to Wrigley.
I could have like bummed there a few nights, because that's basically what I did.
I'm sure I ran into you at some point. Like this is
you had a
crazy
free
to me,
couch
man.
and you didn't tell me, Chris.
I had a futon. Man. I had a bed and a futon.
That's awesome.
So for me, being a Reds fan, I was there for like 2 weeks before I started my job, and the Reds just happened to be in town, and I'm going by myself. I don't know anybody. I literally like got my job on a Thursday, got an apartment Friday, moved on Sunday, like games on Monday kind of thing. So walking to Wrigley, playing the Reds, I'm just like, holy crap, I'm at Wrigley Field. This is awesome. Walk up the little ramp there. As I'm walking up, the ball is in midair. Bronson Arroyo, the pitcher for the Reds, hits a home run.
That's
so the
cool.
very first pitch I ever saw at Wrigley Field was Bronson Arroyo hitting a home run. And then there's another time my friend and I went and we sat, the dugouts are like, I mean, not the dugouts, the bullpens are right there, right by the stands. So I went to West Earl South High School. Right around the corner is Dublin Kaufman High School, where Kent Merker went. At the time, Kent Merker was a reliever for the Reds or the Cubs. Probably the Reds. I can't remember that much. I don't have a very good memory. But anyways, I'm in the front row.
I don't think he was ever on the Cubs.
He just
No,
looks
he was
over,
Red.
and he's like, hey, Westerville, right? I'm from Dublin. I'm like, I know. That's literally why I wore this shirt. And he's just sitting there talking to me while he's warming up, and I thought that was super cool. I mean, I don't have many cool, Cubs stories because I'm a Reds fan. Oh, wait, I got one. Sorry, this is the greatest story. I just remember because it happened in Cincinnati. My junior year of college, me and my buddy Chris go down. He went to Bowling Green. I went to Toledo. It's like a 2-hour drive straight down 75, pouring down rain, like 10 degrees. It was like 2 years after Bartman. This dude is so drunk. He pees he's just like peeing off like left field onto the field. So he gets kicked out. Somehow there's like a 3-hour rain delay. He makes it back in and he goes around stealing everybody's Bartman signs and he's just peeing on them. He got kicked out 3 different times and he's just in there like peeing openly. And it was
That's
the most insane thing I've
That's
ever
what old style will do to you on both fronts. That type of behavior and that much urine.
You're right.
Fast forward 3 years to when I'm living in Chicago. We're at a bar, some Irish bar we used to go to because it was open till like 5 a.m. And I'm looking at this dude like, how do I know you? And he keeps looking at me like, how do I know you? He's the bartender. It's like, man, how do I know you? After 20 minutes of talking, it was that guy.
That's
Wow.
hilarious.
He was the bartender at this random Irish bar at 4:00 in the morning, was the same Pierre dude from Cincinnati.
That's hilarious.
My brother just says that there's Drew Lock jerseys in my closet. All right, so we told some great stories. The real reason I wanted to get you on tonight, Ivan, is to talk about ISO. I know that you came to us when it first came out. It went terrible for us. I know why. I'm going to explain why. It's not a shock, but our boss Stefan's like, we've got 13 avenues to sell on.
Mhm.
Let's wait till it grows a little bit before we want to give it a try again, which we will. But I mean, obviously, people like Buck City Breaks, Midwest Box Breaks, and other people are doing phenomenal on it from what I can see. I know you left a lot of stuff to take this on. We've had a lot of conversations with you and other people about it. Let's just tell us what it is, because I'm sure there's people watching who have no idea.
Yeah. So first off, the website, if you have no idea, you want to ping it in, www.iso.gg. One of those newfangled internet handles.
I'm sorry,
ISO,
what?
ISO.gg.
That is different.
Yeah. It's part of the new Web3, and every .com is taken. So so check that out.
That
Perfect. Look at that. This guy is on it. So so ISO sort of takes the script of most platforms and flips it on its head in a very interesting way to me, and to thankfully quite a few people so far, and I'm sure even more people as we spread the word more and more. And that's so many platforms out there. Their MO is we acquire users through some way, and then we promise those users to the sellers. Like, that's our goal. And so if you're going to somebody that already has an audience, it's like, well, why would I move on to that platform? Because you're just trying to take my users so that they can be spread everywhere else. ISO says your community is the most important thing. Your community is the most important asset, and it should be important to you. At the same time, we see, we talked about Instagram. What if Instagram had a minimum offer thing? Well, Instagram's not a marketplace. It's not a platform for commerce. It's a social network people have bootstrapped into doing commerce on. Twitter is not a platform for commerce. It's a social network that people have started using for commerce. Trusted commerce and social commerce is an evolving field. What if we could create a platform that protects your community as yours and really just powers the commerce behind it like an engine? So a few examples of that are, we have all the same live stream capabilities of the other platforms that are out there. You can go live, you can, do rip and ships with packs while live, you can do auctions while live, all of those features, but you don't have to download an app. You can do it from your desktop, and the people doing the selling can broadcast from ISO with a click of a button to Facebook, to their Twitter, to their YouTube channel, to their Twitch. It's not like we need everybody to download ISO and get on ISO. It's like, no, how do we take this commerce and these trusted communities, and how do we bring them easy transactability? Same thing with the non-live features. We have a feature where you can share an item to Twitter, and somebody can claim it on Twitter with a hashtag. And it moves the item from the general ISO page into a special cart for just you with a timer on it. So again, it's just like saying, hey, pay me on PayPal. It's like, okay, hey, check out on ISO, but all of the motion is happening on Twitter. So that's the idea behind it, is how do we create a platform where you're incentivized to use it for your community, but we're not trying to take your community and move it other places. So for example, you mentioned Buck City Breaks and Midwest Box Breaks, two of our big marketplace builders. And they have a lot of friends, they're friends of each other. But when Buck City goes live, Midwest community members don't get a notification. And vice versa. When Midwest goes live, their community members get notified. Buck City doesn't. So it's a lot different than those, platforms where I have most of them on my phone still, and I get 7 notifications a day of people I didn't sign up to the platform for, people that aren't my friends, people that I don't have the trust with. And they're also selling things that don't matter to me. Like, I don't care if you have a Mosaic basketball break going, retail or hobby. It's just not appealing to me. But I want to know when my friend is going live with Bowman Draft, because that matters to me. So the idea behind it is, how do we power community commerce? And then the features are all built to do that in a way that's better for the community.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. What do you think, Josh?
No, it's great, man. I think anytime you can take this and make it better and amplify it to help everybody be involved, I think it's great.
Yeah, anything new and exciting is good for the hobby. What didn't work for us was, we have the cards, we have like the MailChimp with like 3,500 subscribers on there. I'm not sure we have the demographic of the person who wants to get the items that are on ISO. And then I made the mistake. So you even told me, hey, I could take some of these down. I went heavy in the paint. I listed 10 Zion and John Morant PSA 10s or 9s, Tua and Joe Burrow rookie PSA 10s and 9s, and they went for like 50% of the price. And this was like right off the bat, first couple of weeks you've even been there, where people had no idea what it was. Mm-hmm. Like, it would be different now. I know Ben from Midwest Box Breaks like, hey, why don't you come join our marketplace? I'm like, well, I actually have my own, I just don't use it. But he's like, hey, we can do this, we can do that. You can sell me boxes, I can take money and give it back to you, and we can do this and that. And we've had those discussions. But it's also, like Stefan said, we've already have like 8 different avenues to sell right now. We're looking to open our own. Like, we don't have a retail shop right now. We're all online. We're looking to open one in the next couple of months. And like Buck City and like you in Midwest, you've got 20,000 followers just on Twitter, not alone the other social medias. We've got 1,600. Yeah, we've got this MailChimp and these followers there, but we're on 9% open rate. And that's only if you say like Joe Burrow, John Morant for sale. If you just say, hey, look what we've got coming up, it's like 1.3. I mean, you know how it works. You got to use the SEOs and the right words people want to see.
Yeah.
I just think it was like a hurricane of bad at the same time, where I didn't identify the correct demographic. I went too hard in the paint too fast. I should have done buy it nows instead of auctions. And then once, Stefan was like, you just lost a bunch of money, you did this, we tried it, we're going to wait till they get more users because that failed miserably. Let's put our attention somewhere else. So I think it's great. Mm-hmm. I'm just not sure it's for us, at least right now.
Well, so I would say that because you had asked me before the show, like, what do you think? And I'd say that was as much on us as on you. And it led us to fast track some of the other features. Like, one of the things was, when we did ours, we didn't have notifications. So somebody may bid, but they wouldn't necessarily know that they were outbid. It was very, very, very early on. The entire focus of the website is flipping that on its head to where it's about the community. So ideally, as community members start matriculating into the ISO environment, they enjoy it. We're actually just a few weeks away from launching a really cool feature. It's going to be called Leaderboard, and it's going to allow people to start getting ranks and incentives or rewards based on their participation, not just purchasing, because of course that becomes a very one-way street, but participation, social sharing, those types of things. The other thing that you've hit on that's also unique, and a reason that I love ISO and why I literally left so much other stuff that I was doing, including a career in finance, to join them, is the marketplace concept. So this is kind of ISO 2.0, and what you were talking about with Ben in Midwest and him saying, hey, come sell in our shop, come sell in our marketplace. Really, it's someone who may not have the audience yet, which again, this is built for. It's built for you have the audience, you have the community, they're there. Someone who does have it is able to essentially enlist other sellers into their shop. So if you check out Midwest Box Breaks on ISO, he has over 100 sellers from his community that are populating it. He has multiple breakers that are populating it. So he's able to meet the demand of his Discord and his Twitter following without you having to go download a different app, go to a different platform. If I go on there, Josh, if you go on there and you search Cubs, there's going to be stuff that pops up. You know, you search any team. It's fun. I do this on demos. I'm like, what's your favorite team? You know, kind of a leap into the dark.
Yeah.
And they type it in and it's like, oh, wow, there's 45 Mets cards here. I can actually shop this store. So that's level 2.0, which is you can find trusted communities. And if you're not like, oh, I want to build a community, I want to get all these people together, because that takes a certain type of person, you can still really benefit from it. And the other benefit is Ben's community is not downloading those other apps on Friday. You know, Ben doesn't want to go live on Saturday because he has a life also. But he has 2 other trusted breakers that can go live on Saturday and service his customers that way. Instead of them getting on and swiping and checking out this, and all of a sudden they're caught up in that and they're unable to do anything the rest of the month in the community that they value and that values them. So that's the idea really, is like, how do we build community? How do we strengthen community? How do we let someone that may have cool product but not distribution, how do we connect them to someone that has the distribution and make it win-win all around?
Do you have any customers who own like a retail shop? Because I was just thinking about this as far as like we're looking to open a retail shop in 2023. Like our literal customers who walk through the door, we could have a QR code sitting next to, you know, the cash register. Hey, if you want to sell on our marketplace, you know, get on here. All of a sudden we have an ISO. They just, you know, scan the QR code. All of a sudden they're selling and we're helping promote that. Like, do you have actual physical retail shops? And is that like a thing? Because I mean, I've had talks with Stefan about, you know, like virtual card shows. Like we tried it on Whatnot. We're literally, hey, I'm just going to take my iPad around our display cases and there's people who line up. And hey, this is a buy it now price. I'll negotiate with you. 3 hours. You just went to a card shop with a bunch of people in a room. Like I could do that on a Friday night, but also like, you know, someone could come into my shop. I have no idea who they are. Is it someone that I have to trust, or is it someone that, hey, they could just be a customer, download our QR code. All of a sudden they're selling on our platform. Like how does that work?
So one, that's a great idea. I love it. Keep them coming. So far, we do have a few card shops that are selling on the platform. They've all chosen to be tenant sellers with somebody else in their marketplace, probably because they're just too busy. You know, not every shop has the full build out of a social media person.
That's an issue we ran into with Whatnot and the other things was we didn't have the manpower.
I don't have enough time.
Yeah. I will say like one really cool activation. So Buck City, they went to the Midwest Monster card show. And they had 4 cases, I want to say. And one of their cases, they had a QR code on it. And it was items ending that Sunday night on ISO. So people would come and say, oh, man, look at that. And they'd say, oh, yeah, scan the QR code and you can bid in the auction. So that's already like tracking along a little bit of what you're thinking. Now, there was kind of 2 questions in there, though, which is like, could we do it? Or should we do it? Or, you know, how would that work? And then also, could anybody do it? And while we do let anybody spin up a marketplace, if they wanted to sell in your marketplace, you would have to approve them. So you could let anybody sell in your marketplace, but I would say you probably want to curate it just a little. So maybe it's the customer that you recognize.
Yeah. Okay.
That you say, okay, yeah, sell in our marketplace.
The regular.
Flip side being, you've got that email list. You've got that distribution. I imagine you probably do consignment for some of your top regulars anyways. This is almost like a way to allow and shepherd consignment without you having to do all the work behind it. Because are they consigning with you because you're listing for them or because you're getting it sold for them? If it's because you're getting it sold for them
Getting it
because you've got the
sold.
email list, say, okay, yeah, check this out. Don't even need to download the app, by the way. We're available on desktop now. So you don't even need an app to list stuff. Just go to this site, make a username, and then ping me right here, and we'll get you set up in our shop. And then they can start listing stuff. And then you're looking at it and you're like, oh man, my top 3 customers just posted 17 Joe Burrows between them. Email going out, check out the Joe Burrows AFC Championship champion, right? That's what we're all assuming.
That's who.
Right?
That's who I got.
They're winning this weekend. So yeah, so you can do that distribution for them, but they're also handling that fulfillment. And there's somebody that you trust, which leads to trust from the buyer. It's like, oh yeah, this is, it's not like buying on eBay where you never know what's going to happen 2 days later. I know eBay's taken some great steps to stop that, but we still see unpaid items, especially on
for the volume we do. It's ridiculous. I mean, we have over 1,500 items listed right now, and that's like low. I mean, for the volume we do, the cancels, the unpaid, it's bad.
Yeah. So it's a way for you definitely to provide a value add to your shop, your best customers, because you trust them. They're going to fulfill it. Obviously, if they don't, we have security, like checkpoints and things in place, so the buyer is taken care of. And
can they be cross-listed?
No, actually. You can only list an item. You can sell in multiple marketplaces. Like for example, we have an F1 marketplace. If I'm going to list an F1 card, it makes sense to go there more so than maybe, I love Buck City. I love Chris and Adam. I don't know if they have F1 buyers because I've never seen them do an F1 break. That said, if I have a football card, I'm
where
going
to see him tomorrow. I might bring him an F1 box.
Yeah, do that. There's competition on ISO. You got to get going with F1. Mix it up. But I can't list an item here, there, the other place. It's like, no, if I'm listing this, it's going there. Because we don't want people to be like, jumping around between the marketplaces so much as like helping build the community around a marketplace.
I understand. I've got all my questions answered. Josh, you have any for him?
No questions here. I'm good, man.
So Josh, I have a question for you.
And go ahead and ask away.
Which one are we going to get you on first? ISO or Twitter?
Probably Twitter.
Either one is a victory.
We'll start with Twitter.
We'll start with Twitter.
I don't know. I got him pretty hooked on Whatnot there for a while. When we started that, he was addicted, telling me like 3:00 in the morning he couldn't put his phone down. So maybe if I introduce him to the marketplaces, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, okay."
There's a thing with Whatnot though. Even if you click off of it, it'll still play. So you have to actually like go in and exit out. That happened once. And I heard somebody talking, and it was really weird, and I couldn't understand where it was coming from. And I realized that my Whatnot stream that somebody was still talking to Whatnot. So
yeah. Well, we'd love to have you. Let me know. I'll ping you any Cubs cards that come up that I'm not buying myself.
So you got it, man.
All right, we are running super late, but there's one question that I really want to talk to you about because I know you've been to the industry events, and we're supposedly going to the Mint Collective this year. I know last year we missed. We were talking about going to the Tops industry event. We just have something else going on that weekend, and then the national, of course. Like, what is your opinion on the industry events? Not necessarily like the giant card shows like Chicago, Atlantic City, Philadelphia, Dallas, but more or less like, what can people gain from going to the Mint Collective or the Tops industry event? Is it more than just networking? Is it just meeting people, or is there like actual knowledge to gain? Like this year, I feel like there's going to be a lot more with the Fanatic stuff and what's actually going to happen compared to past years. But I feel like you know more about this than me, and I would like to know your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I love all the facets of the industry. And so for me, these things are crucial as well as awesome. At the Tops Industry Conference last year, they have a Q&A session where people get to ask questions. And it's not like they like write them down and they sort them out. There's a microphone. You can imagine some of the questions, right? They get a little heated and a little pointed and such, but they're being asked by online breakers. They're being asked by very small hobby shops that don't even have social media. They're being asked by the distributors. They're being asked by collectors that ponied up to be there. Like, you get a different perspective seeing all of those things. And I really value that. You also get some answers that you don't often get on social media. And you get some foresight too. And then you get to spend the next year wondering, hey, you said you were going to do this. When are you going to do this? Then you bring that question up again in Tempe, Arizona in 3 weeks. I'm going to the Tops Industry Conference. If that was missed in there. So personally, I love them. I went to the Mint Collective and the Industry Conference last year. I'm really hoping to go again this year. I went to the Industry Summit 2 years ago. I was not able to go last year. Very much hoping to go this year. And I think that they're really good because one other thing that comes up constantly, I'm not sure the exact demographic that's listening. I hope it's as diverse as the demographic I just described. People don't see the full chain, and they love to blame what they see, and they don't see the cause of it. And I am big on like reducing your stress in life just a little, reducing your stress in the hobby, and being able to say things like, oh, wait, no, that's actually happening because your hobby shop is getting the product from here. They're getting their product from there. But this product is a direct product, and it actually skips that step in the supply chain, and it creates this. And then flippers are able to do, and it just really colors your perspective and hopefully can help you calm down and enjoy it a little more in some ways, because I'm all about the hobby being fun and enjoying it. So I really love those events. Plus another thing, and I'm definitely guilty of this, but like when you can put a face to the person that you're used to yelling at on social media, hopefully your next year, you're a little bit nicer to them. I've known the past 2 social media people at Tops, and I'm like, I see some of I see this much versus what they must see of some of the angry tweets. And I'm like, there's gotta be a better way for all of us to do this. And I fall into it too. Please, let me know when it's like, man, did you really do that? That the person answering it is not the person that designed the product. It's not the person, it's not the CEO of the company seeing the tweets.
Hey, where's my redemptions from 4 years ago, Ivan? God, you suck. Give me my redemptions.
Yeah, it's
unbelievable.
I mean, that's almost the calmest of it. That's the funny thing. It's like, I bought this hobby pack for $100 and it ruined my life that I didn't hit XYZ that I saw someone else hit on social media. And it's like, just calm down for a minute, calm down. And remember, there's a real person on the other end of that line. It's, so that's one of the benefits that I see from it. Plus, there's always all kinds of cool freebies and the chance to see friends, the chance to see people like Chris and Josh, who I never see on Twitter anymore. You can actually see him in person at these events.
All right. Twitter's coming. It's coming. The Twitterverse.
I got him on at least one, Chris. We got him.
There we go.
One conversion.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll round it out, Josh. When collecting, do you use both sides of the binders?
I used to. I remember being a kid, and I would just kind of put them in there. But you're 9. You really don't know any better. Now, I don't even use those things now. But if I had to do it now, it'd just be one at a time. Just because you're a lot smarter now than what you did. You see a lot of things. You see what people do, and I don't think you want to go stuffing a bunch of cards in there.
Ivan,
I have one binder in my house, and that is a 1990 Donruss set that my dad gave me as a birthday gift 2 years ago, because that set had some special memories for us as a kid. Do not use both pages, both sides of the binder. Just don't do it. Protect your cards. Keep them safe.
Yes.
I brought it up because I saw like it was your pen tweet, and then literally my boss Stefan gave me a Pokemon binder. There were like 8 cards in one little sleeve. I'm like, you got some 96 first editions sitting in here like that. Like, what is going on? Unbelievable. But
at least show us the TikTok. Tell me you did.
I'll make one tomorrow morning. And so
card shop on TikTok.
the only binders we use now are literally for my daughter and her Jesse Winker collection, and my son for his Cooper Cup collection, and then Pokemon. We put the when we have time to organize, the only actual set we put together is the celebrations. We have that whole thing in a binder. Then we kind of be like, here's all the green cards, here's all the blue cards. My kids are 7 and 3, so they can do that a lot easier than here's the jungle set, here's the base set, here's the rocket set. So that's the way we go with that.
That's
All right,
awesome.
it is 8:51 here, and I can hear my wife trying to get my kids to bed in there. They're like, no, I'm not going to bed. And I'm like, you got a race car bed. You better get yourself in there, Mario Andretti.
Hold on a minute, real quick. Super Bowl predictions. Ivan, who you got? We talked about baseball the whole time. Let's go. Let's switch to football. Who you got going to the Super Bowl this weekend, and who do you have winning in 3 weeks?
It's insane, but just with the roles they're on, it's got to be Bengals Eagles.
Okay.
And that would just be cool because both fan bases are so hungry for it. Somebody's going to be super disappointed and somebody's going to be super happy. I'm going to get some flack on here, but I'm going to rock chalk and go with the Eagles being the winners. Sorry, guys. One more year.
I said Bengals 49ers a long time ago, and so far I'm still correct. I'm not going to change it now, and I think the Bengals are going to win their first chip this year because Joe Burrow is playing at a very high level. It's like, I don't know if anybody listened to our podcast from last week, but Chris and I touched on this a little bit, but Joe Burrow has solidified himself as one of, if not the top guy in the AFC. I know Mahomes is on his own level, but he is a little banged up this week. It scares me a little bit. So we'll see what that goes. He's going to play, but give me the Bengals over the 49ers.
I'm going Bengals versus Eagles, and I'm taking the Eagles, and it pains me to say, but they have the most complete team. They just do. I mean, the Trent Dilfer-led 49ers, the Brock Purdy-led 49ers have the best defense. Like, they've got playmakers. They've got McCaffrey and Debo and Ayuk and Bosa, an amazing defense. The Eagles have all that. They just aren't it like they also have Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, who's better than all of them, and Miles Sanders. And I just think the Eagles are the most complete team. I understand that they played an absolute trash schedule. Like, I thought when I saw it, they're going 11-2 or 12-2, whatever it was. They're having 2 losses. I think they ended up with 3, but also one of them was like garbage time, and Minshew was playing 3 or 4 games. Now that Hurts is back, I think just like the Bengals they're just like the team of destiny. I don't know. The Chiefs, like, Mahomes is on another level. It's like Mahomes, Burrow, everybody else, but you don't got Tyreek anymore. The Bengals actually have somebody who can cover Kelsey. They can stop the run. They've got a good defensive line. I think it's all going to matter of the Chiefs defensive line and the Bengals offensive line. Bengals offensive line is terrible. Joe Burrow's sacked more than any other quarterback, but I think the Bengals find a way. And actually, I think the Eagles roll like 21, and then it's a close Super Bowl, Eagles by 3.
Pretty detailed. I'm not even gonna fight you on that because I feel like you know a lot more than I do about the strengths and weaknesses.
We're ready
of the
for
teams.
baseball season. How about that?
Let's just say I bought a house this year. And when I say I really mean my wife. So this was a good year as a Rams fan to be busy on Sundays.
There you go.
Let's put it that way.
You got it
We
last
got
year.
that Cooper Cup collection in my house.
I love it. I do love that. So
Yeah, all right. So, Ivan, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Had an awesome time. This is the
sure, man.
longest show and the most watched show we've had. So, awesome. Josh, have a pleasant evening. I'll see you tomorrow. You guys have anything to say before we peace out? No?
We're
All
good,
right.
man.
See ya.